Welcome back to the People's Matter program. We've been discussing about substance and drug abuse, and now we are going to see the effects of drugs ranging from relationships, productivity, when it comes to our economy, and other things. So welcome.
Okay, thank you, Diana. Well, when you talk about relationships, you realize in families, we have what we call family systems, and it's expected that it becomes functional. But you realize that when drugs and substance abuse enter into a family, it gets disrupted, or there's a lot of changes that takes place. There's what we call codependence. When, for example, maybe a husband becomes
An addict.
an addict. Of course, the wife will take the roles that were not initially belonging to her, because she has to work on meet the needs of the family. So the roles changes, and even the children, their roles change. So you find they really get affected, and the normal functions of the family change. Even children start misbehaving, they become rebellious, because there is no control. If the head of the family is not able to provide and also
to head the
guide
family.
the family in the right direction, you realize other roles begin. Even the children take different roles. The wife takes a different role, and respect in the family is diminished. That care in the family is diminished. So it really affects the family, and the production, of course, goes down.
Okay, I have seen some addicts whereby you find someone has become alcoholic to an extent that you find this person is even urinating on himself or herself, and the wife, the spouse, is expected to clean up this person, is expected to still cling on this person. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, let me begin by saying that there are situations like that, and most likely it's because there is that stigma associated with someone who is abusing substance, to the extent that they are neglected, they are never given treatments, because when we call it a disease of the brain, they need treatment. Disease of the brain requires that someone is screened and given proper treatment so that he can recover. But if someone is left for a long time until he reaches the situation that you are talking about, then sometimes there is those myths that says that that kind of person should be punished, maybe should be imprisoned, or you lock him outside the house, you don't bring him in. Or even some of the ladies, like certain families, the wife will just carry that role of becoming now taking care of the man, like cleaning him, washing his clothes, doing it over and over, but it's not a pleasant job.
It is not.
And she'll not be happy about it. So those roles actually affect the family. But what I want to recommend is that it's good that viewers understand what addiction is, so that before a person reaches that level, he seeks treatment, or even the people involved, the family members, should look for ways in which they can make their person reach treatment, because it's treatable. Addiction is treatable. Yeah, it is. You can take someone for treatment. Counseling, we do counseling to such clients, and it's not only doing counseling because of substance abuse. We realize the other factors that are associated with it, like probably somebody is not having a job and gets frustrated to the level that he throws himself to drinking a lot of alcohol.
Okay, what about the health of these people? Do you think that they are healthy, or because you find that mostly in some drugs they use injections. Do you think that they can still keep up their health with all this?
In fact, those are the dangers that need to be mentioned in this forum, because there are certain drugs, especially young people, they they share injections. They share that needle because some of the drugs are taken in through intravenous. Yeah. Or and people share needles when they use some drugs like heroin. And when they share needles, the same needles that has been shared can have some infections, such that there is that transmission of HIV and AIDS, and also hepatitis B, hepatitis C. There, so it can spread. And also there are people when they are intoxicated or under the influence of alcohol, they can take risks and even engage into sexual relationships that are not safe, where they don't use condoms and they contract HIV and AIDS. And also, you realize that when someone has reached the level of addiction, you desire to change but is not able. Despite knowing the consequences that it's harmful, they will continue drinking. Some even reach the level of developing diseases like liver cirrhosis. They are treated medically by the doctor, and the doctor tells him, stop drinking alcohol. But they continue doing it because they are not able to stop. So they do not have that power. Yeah. Some of the myths are such that it's expected that an addict has self-power to stop, or the willpower to stop. But they cannot until they get to treatment. And the treatment is through counseling and rehabilitation, so that they can recover fully.
So as a counselor, how do you handle these people when they are brought to you? What do you do to them for them to reform, for them to make decisions?
Yeah. A client who is brought because he has been taking substance, let's say alcohol, of course the first thing that we do as counselors is to what we call screening. You do the screening to identify what type of drug he's taking, because the drugs are so many. So it's good to identify so that you'll provide treatment that is relevant to that kind of drug. So we do the screening, we identify, so that you can be able also to know what type of drug it takes, the route of administration. There are drugs that are taken through intravenous, others are oral, others are inhaled. So it's good to know so that you know how to go about it. And also to know whether you are, it is, some of these substance abuse clients also have what we call co-conditions. They could be suffering from something else, and then it's covered by the substance abuse. It could be having depression. It could be having other mental illness that needs treatment. So we do thorough screening so that we know, is this person qualified to be handled by the counselor or to be handled by a psychiatrist, or that the two should work together and help the client. So a client, for example, who has been screened, he can go to the next stage where he's assess whether he qualifies to be treated and what method of treatment, because there are also varied method of treatments for the clients. It's not one size fits it all. There are so many other, very many methods of treating the clients. Yeah, some can be treated on what we call harm reduction. Just inform the client of the risk involved in continued use of substance, like problems with accidents if they are intoxicated, or losing their lives if they are going to have overdose of drugs, mixing drugs or taking excessive. Yeah. So some can be handled at that level, and others can even be taken to the level of rehabilitation, where they are confined for a period of 90 days. Treating, counseling clients with addiction it's not a short period work. You do it for many months. In fact, the minimum is 90 days, so that the person can actually reach the level of recovery.
And do they totally reform, or they at some point they go back to the same thing? Well,
reforms or recovery is possible. it is possible because when everything is well conducted, the assessment, the treatment methods, the interventions are in place, and the clients is also willing to go through that session. There are clients who deny. They say we are not even addicts. They feel like they have been victimized. But for those who will accept and they go through the process, we call collaboration. We work together with the client, empower the client, encourage him to work on his recovery until that period is over. You'll find that kind of client will actually recover and live fulfilled lives or contented life. But there are clients also, maybe they have not accepted, they are still in denial. They may come to a center for rehabilitation, go through the process, and go back to relapse as soon as it's discharged. There are other factors also that contribute to that relapse. It could be the family background. Because when one is released or discharged from rehabilitation, it goes back to the same family that does not appreciate the effort
that this person has made
in the center, in the recovery center. So they will still suspect him, think that he wants to steal because some even reach the level of stealing so that he can buy drugs or alcohol. So when he goes home and he's still treated as a suspect, he'll feel like I've not been appreciated. So he'll go back to drink. So we encourage that families also go through therapy. If you have a client who has gone through the recovery, the family should also go through the therapy.
What has the government done to curb this issue, to help these addicts and to help their families? Do you think there is a step that has been taken?
Yeah, the government is really committed to ensuring that substance abuse is handled and addressed properly, because today we see there is this authority, the NACADA, that is concerned about prevention and even helping clients to recover from addiction. And currently there is that plan in the counties to ensure that rehabilitation centers are established, because rehabilitation centers can be so expensive for some of the clients that they are not able, or their family members are not able to admit them to the centers. So the government is working on establishing rehabilitation centers that is accessible, that are cheap and available. And even there are trainings that are offered for counselors. More counselors are being encouraged to pursue courses in addiction, because it is noted that it's becoming an epidemic, in the sense that when more people become addicts, their production, of course, economy goes down. Because the energetic people, for example, the youth who are very energetic, they cannot pursue their education, they cannot even get committed to their jobs, they lose their jobs. So the economy is affected. And even there is rampant crime when people cannot be able to engage in work that is proper, and they engage in crime. Of course, it affects the economy of the country. So the government is committed in working on it.
Okay, thank you, viewers, for staying with us. Our guest has been Dina Lagat, and we appreciate her so much for the insight that she has given us. I've been your host, Chelangat Diana, so keep watching KTS and make sure you tune in to KTS on Tuesdays for you to view our program.